Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ask Dave. My name is Stan Banachowicz, and I'm filling in for my colleague Matt Brukowski today. Dave, today's question is about a topic our team here in Alaska is very familiar with. We work with our clients to help them transition from old technology to new equipment that is better, faster, and more secure. Dave, can you tell our viewers, how does the age of your server affect your network security?
Great question. So many of us are probably familiar with having a car that gets a little older in years. And if you've ever had to work on a vehicle, you know that the older it gets, the harder and harder it is to find parts. It's harder to find people that are qualified to work on them. And it's just a very common thing with anything that you have as it gets on in years. Well, the same is true for server technology. There's a life cycle and there's a life expectancy of traditional hardware. And while many of us IT professionals pride ourselves in getting a little extra mileage out of our server resources, it has to come at a cost. So there's a number of things that a server can be used for. It might be hosting a business website. It might be hosting your email, so sending and receiving messages, sharing business and data and files, and providing access to that same business resource for your users. Well, those are all the functional elements of what a server has to do. And most people think that it's just the operating system, whether it's Windows Server or something like that, that's on the server that they have to keep up to date. But it's more than that. It's not just the server operating system. There's the BIOS, there's drivers for things like the network card, and different communication aspects, media drivers inside a server, if it's a web application, who knows? So all those things have to be working in concert with each other. And the older the server gets, the harder it is to make all those things work. So when we think about, okay, can I move that to the cloud? Can I invest in some more hardware upgrades for that server? It starts to become an operational challenge. But those are just the usability. So access to it, its use and integrity, but that doesn't necessarily address security. So the heart of your question is, how does that affect the security? Well, the older it gets, the harder it is to patch, and it might even drop out of what's called supported status. And we have some clients, right, that we'll tell them, hey, the server's coming end of life. It's not going to be supported. And what does that mean? Well, we can't get updates from the manufacturer for that server's operating system, or maybe for some of the hardware that's in it. And that makes the server vulnerable to cyber attacks where there's some type of vulnerability that's not patched. It can be exploited. And if there's no way to patch it, it also means that there's no way to secure it, especially if it's internet facing, like a web application or something to that effect. So bottom line is, you should always have a life cycle plan for the investment if you need or have a requirement for that server to be on premise and be that physical brick and mortar resource. Don't operate on an old operating system and old hardware. It's less expensive today than it ever has been to update that stuff. And the newer it is, there is some rhyme to the more secure it is, because you have the ability to patch it. That doesn't mean just because it's new, it's fully patched. You still have some effort there, but it does make the job of someone like ourselves as network engineers and professionals, does make our job a little easier to keep you safe from a cybersecurity perspective. More importantly, keeps your business in a better spot so that you can operate successfully.
Well, Dave, thanks for the time today. See everyone next time on Ask Dave.
Adios. Thanks, Dan.
Ask Dave. Got a technology question you need an answer for? Send us an email at connect@arcticit.com and your question might be featured on the next edition of Ask Dave.